In the heart of central New Jersey, in Middlesex County, lies the town of Piscataway. An ethnically diverse community located in Middlesex County. It is the fifth oldest municipality in New Jersey. It is home to Robert Wood Johnson Medical School and Rutgers University, the birthplace of college football. This middle-class central New Jersey town has produced arguably more elite athletes for major college and professional sports than any other town in the country. So much so that it was named Sportstown, USA by Sports Illustrated in 2008. The town has produced so many NFL players, it has been recently dubbed NFL High. The town of Piscataway was founded in 1666 and was officially incorporated in 1798. It is home to Rutgers, the state university. Ironically, Rutgers University is the birthplace of college football. It was here where the very first intercollegiate football game was played on November 6, 1869, between Rutgers University and Princeton. In the late 1950s, the New Jersey Department of Traffic began construction of a major thruway, Interstate 287. It was originally proposed to be a bypass into New York City from the south. Part of this thruway was constructed directly through the middle of the town of Piscataway. With the construction of the interstate, Piscataway began to expand and flourish. When the interstate was completed in 1960, Piscataway proved to be a highly desirable location for corporate development. In anticipation of the thruway, Fortune 500 companies and major corporations such as Johnson & Johnson, Pepsi-Cola, MCI WorldCom International, and Colgate-Palmolive began to make Piscataway their new home.
And the population in Piscataway really took off in the 60s. If you look at the census numbers from between 1950, 1960, 1960, the bulk of the construction in Piscataway took place and the population growth in the 60s, because with the advent of the interstate system, especially with 287 being built in Piscataway now, it truly became accessible to become a bedroom community for people that lived in New York, that wanted, and Staten Island, that wanted to live in Piscataway, but they wanted to be close enough to relatives in New York. So that's when you saw the advent. You still, back in the 60s when I grew up, you still had a lot of farmlands in there, but over the course of time, the farmlands made way that people decided to give up. They didn't want to farm anymore. They sold off the property. Then you had bedroom housing, or you had corporate development. And Centennial Avenue, for those folks that realize, it's a parallel road that runs along 287, and it has all the major corporations.
Today, the 4-mile stretch of the interstate that passes through Piscataway is one of the most heavily traveled sections of the thruway. The town's prime location provides easy access to other major New Jersey highways, such as the New Jersey Turnpike and the Garden State Parkway. Piscataway's location makes it especially attractive to commuters and corporations alike.
Best way to describe Piscataway Township, it's a historical, high-tech town. And what I mean by that is that Piscataway Township is 346 years old. It predates the founding of our country, And throughout the years, Piscataway at one point was 300 square miles, which now is down to 18.9 square miles. Now, over that time, Piscataway has developed into a high-tech bedroom community. And what I mean by that is that currently right now we have a lot of the Fortune 500 companies or subsidiaries of the telecom industry that are located here in Piscataway because of the close proximity to New York City.
Despite the influx of large corporations and urban development, Piscataway has managed to maintain its friendly suburban atmosphere, making it a wonderful place to live, work, and play.
Now, what does that all have to do with sports or Sportstown, USA? A lot of people, when they look, live at a place and work at a place, they look at the school system and recreational programming. So what we have done over the last 30 plus years in Piscataway Township, we have tried to assure from the mayor's office on down to the town council that there would be programming available for children of all ages and for adults. When it comes to kids wanting to get involved in recreational programming, one of the things that when Sports Illustrated named us Sportstown USA out of New Jersey is that the fact that kids did not have to pay for actual fees to get involved in recreational programming.
In 2008, Money Magazine released their annual Top 100 Places to Live in the United States. And included on that list was Piscataway, New Jersey. In 2010, Money Magazine saw fit to once again name Piscataway to its top 100 list of best places to live in America.
There is a reason why we've been listed as one of the top 100 places in America to live. The education is great. We're not too far from the city, but we're close enough where we can get in and out of the city. So we're a nice, affluent suburb. It's culturally and multiculturally diverse, and I think that adds to the value of the education and the athletics in Piscataway. So we don't deal with the normal distractions that kids from the inner city may have to deal with. So I think it's a big positive for living in Piscataway, and I think it's only going to get better with the success of the athletic programs, the success of our former athletes moving on to college and into the pro ranks, just giving Piscataway that recognition that we got something special going on and we're doing things right here in Piscataway, and it's only going to get bigger.
A lot of the things that I did growing up were possible because I was in Piscataway, kind of a suburb type area. Now, let's not make a mistake. Piscataway is very widely diverse. You know, you got your whites, blacks, Asians, Indians. Culture-wise, you're not missing anything in Piscataway.
The multicultural aspect, well, that's what Piscataway is. Growing up, it was a melting pot. You've got African Americans, you've got Native Americans, Caucasians, you've got Hispanics. It's just a myriad of people across the board. And it just seems that everyone, when they come to Piscataway, we don't have many problems. It's a true melting pot.
The multicultural aspect, you know, this is a township where you have African Americans, you have Indian Americans, you have Caucasians, you have Hispanics, you got a little bit of everything. I think that prepared me for life. You know, as an athlete here in Piscataway, when you grow up with so many different types of people, when I got to Villanova, you know, I was able to adapt to whatever, you know, because I have seen it all here in Piscataway. You know, it's just a very multicultural town. I think that's what America is. So I think when these guys go off to college, whether it's Ohio State, whether it's Villanova, whether it's Boise State, UConn, wherever you're going, you've seen it all and you've kind of been prepared here in Piscataway.
The fact that Piscataway is such a diverse community, I think, is an advantage for our young men and women. It gives them ability to relate to people from different parts of the world. It also gives them the ability to not focus on how that person looks, but to look a little deeper and to decide how that person could help them achieve their goals. I think Piscataway has a wide variety of cultures, and I think it definitely improves the potential of the student athlete once they go out into the world to compete against other young men and women.
It is kind of interesting how, with the advent of ESPN and sporting, every time you say live from Piscataway, New Jersey, we as residents couldn't pay enough good PR on that, and it has really helped out the town, put our name on the map. And we can't pay enough on TV when it's on ESPN saying live from Piscataway, High Point Solution Stadium, or the Lewis Brown Athletic Arena for the Big East games. We can't pay enough money for that PR. It's invaluable. The only misleading thing is that what ESPN does is that when they ever show the blimp going over New York City, I did have a lot of mayors around the country asking me, is your town right next door to New York City? So there's a lot of little media things that really has put our town on the map, not just for sporting, historical reasons, high tech, or education and things like that. So, when somebody say Piscataway, you say, oh yeah, I know that. It's in Central New Jersey by Rutgers University or something like that.
In 2008, Piscataway was selected as Sports Illustrated's #1 sports town for the state of New Jersey. Sports Illustrated presented the Recreation Department with signs labeled, quote, Piscataway, selected #1 in New Jersey, end quote. Those signs were proudly displayed throughout the township of Piscataway. In announcing Piscataway as the only community in New Jersey to win this honor, Sports Illustrated stated, and I quote, still a place where youth can play sports for free, Piscataway has gone out of its way to guarantee quality facilities, well-trained volunteer coaches, and inclusion strategies that make sports accessible to everyone, end quote.
My name is Vince Wooten. I live not too far from this park here, Columbus Park. I coached in the rec system. I coached AAU. I've been involved in athletics for a few years now as my 14-year-old's gotten a little older. To have the facilities that we have in Piscataway, we probably have 10 to 12 courts just like this. So when this court is filled and I need to take my daughter and her friends out or whatever, I could go to one of those courts. The facilities are great here. I think at times the competition is good for her in terms of the other girls in the town, and sometimes playing against the younger guys. And it's really been a blast for her playing in the rec system.
So this is a facility that we've been playing on for a long period of time. Court has changed, but we haven't. We're still here. Like that. This is a good court, Piscataway, good place to be.
The Piscataway Recreation Department and the mayor has worked hard to maintain free sports programming to its residents that meet high standards for excellence and diversity. It was this dedication to its some 60,000 residents that has earned Piscataway the Sports Illustrated Sportstown title.
It's called leadership. You have to make, when you're an elected official, whether you're mayor as I am or on the town council, there's policy decisions that you need to make on what you're going to fund. I mean, there's only a finite amount of money that's available to fund general government services out here. And one of the things that we've always made a commitment with the kids in our towns, we were trying as best we can to make sure that they have programming, that it wouldn't be a fee-based programming. That over the last 30 plus years is that we've tried to do our best to make sure that no child should be excluded because they were able to pay a fee to be involved in sports and recreation. And that has led us to why national magazines have either named our town through the sporting end. You've had Sporting News that has named us as one of the top sports town year after year. And then in the last several years, you've had Money Magazine has named our town for quality of life issues. And one of the things that they've mentioned was recreational programming, where that if you're a young family that's living in a town, that it's economically feasible to live in our town because the town doesn't ask for all these fees. However, one thing that they do is that they are on township facilities, like our Department Public Works maintains the Piscataway Little League complex up there, and that is arguably probably the best Little League complex in the state of New Jersey. In fact, so that they're going to be holding the Little League Championship Series this year for the state of New Jersey up in Piscataway Township.
Well, one of the first things when you talk about the success of Piscataway athletes, I think you have to first go down to the bottom and talk about the youth sports. You know, I've done a lot of traveling all around the country, and you'd be surprised how many other, parents, coaches, townships don't have free youth sports. Here in Piscataway, Pop Warner is free. Basketball is free. Babe Ruth, the baseball is free. These are things that I don't think I even knew when I was a child. I thought my mom got me in all this, she got me in all these different sports, but it's all free. So when you have free sports like that, any kid can play, no matter what his economic status is or his parents' economic status is. So you got the kids, the upper middle class kids in Piscataway can play, to the kids in the lower middle class areas, whether it's the Heights, whether it's the Arbor section, everybody can play. And you'd be surprised how a $300 entry fee or a $400 entry fee or $200, whatever it is in some of these neighboring towns, keep a lot of kids off the gridiron, or off the basketball court, off the baseball field. I think that's a huge piece.
The social economic status in Piscataway is quite different. We have a melting pot of statuses, so to speak. The one great thing about Piscataway sports as a whole, you do not have to pay to play sports in Piscataway. I think that helps some of the underprivileged children, some of the children who may not financially be able to afford $300 for a helmet or $300 for a registration fee. It helps them to be able to play. And sometimes some of those kids are the kids that will succeed. I think that Piscataway is a great place. It offers a wonderful opportunity for children to exercise their athleticism without having to worry about whether or not their mom or dad can afford to allow them to play.
I think that the Piscataway program has gotten so good as far as athletes and Piscataway pumping out athletes because they have a great recreation department, I think. And I think that, from your Pop Warner to your rec league basketball to your Little League, Babe Ruth, it's a feeder basically into the high school. And, you had the same teammates all the way coming up. And we got one high school, which for me makes Piscataway good because it has just one high school.
One of the reasons for the success that we have at the Pop Warner level, and people may think really, but I do feel it is the facilities that we have. I think the facilities at the Pop Warner level are very good. I look back on the facilities that we had when I was up in North Jersey for the junior football program, and we were running things out of a trailer, and I come down here to Piscataway, and we have a whole big building with office space. After practice, the coaches can actually go and kind of relax and congregate and talk about practice, talk about what's going on and what have you.
And this is all free.
It's all free, And I look at it in comparison to some of the other teams that we play, and when you go to their fields and we go to their facilities, and it just doesn't measure up. And you can kind of tell because, it's a correlation to the type of program that they have, to be honest with you, all right? And the people that are involved, you look at these kids and they're out there playing their hearts out with the fire in their belly. Well, you know what? It started from them parents. It started from the people that are part of that organization because they got the fire, It starts from the ground up, starts from the parents, starts from the adults, and it just feeds into the kids, and you see that come into fruition on the football field.
When you play in a town where the sports are free, it gives the kids the benefit of coming out there without worrying about having to pay for equipment. Like he says, other teams that we played would have to pay for the equipment. They would have to pay a fee to get on the team.
Other times their parents didn't have it in other towns.
So, by having it where Piscataway kids would play for free, it was a great benefit to the kids.
It was a benefit. We got more of a turnout.
Also. We were told by some of the parents that they moved to Piscataway for that reason, because they knew everything in Piscataway was free. But in the other towns that they lived in, they had to pay this, they had to pay that. So a lot of parents, a lot of kids came from other towns, moved to Piscataway, and were able to, have their kids benefit from the sport.
For the program.
And that has really instilled a sense of teamwork within Piscataway, which I like to fondly call Team Piscataway. And what I mean by that is it's been a joint venture between the parents and the children being involved within the community. And one thing that really brings them together is sporting activities. Whether you have a child playing in soccer, Little League, baseball, basketball, football, all the parents have always come involved. And what has happened over the last 40 to 50 years, really taken off, is that now you have second and third generations now that have partaken in the Piscataway recreational programs. And now those children have grown up to be adults and now have their own kids, who now in turn now are being coaches of their involved volunteering as coaches or whatever means they're volunteering at.
We weren't voted one of the top sports town in New Jersey for nothing. It's just a lot of aspects. The parks, man. I used to clean up those parks back when I was in college. I had a job with the township. I used to go around and clean up the parks, and we had to make sure that everything was spick and span. Glass was picked up. Kevin Donovan, who gave me the job, he was the head of the recreation department. They didn't play around. The parks were serious. Make sure the nets were up. You'd be surprised that when you go to different cities across this country, nets are down, glass on the court. Things aren't set up for the kids to really do well and play. So there's a lot of things going on here in Piscataway.
I think Piscataway being named Sportstown USA, anyone that's from Piscataway had to feel proud. As I said earlier, I'm class of 1988. I was able to watch a tremendous amount of young men and women move on to attend college to play a sport. I think it's very important to understand that a student athlete can be very gifted, but if they don't have the academic background to be successful in college, they will not receive the athletic scholarship. So I think that's very important, that we're very proud that we were able to achieve that title.